What is up, everyone? Stonepost 34. I'm back. It's been a while. I took a nice trip. Real quick, this gameplay is from the live stream last night. Now, I only had a few people in there. Thank you for watching if you did. I'm going to try and live stream some more. And one night a week, I think I'm going to just do sub only with you guys. So keep that in mind. There'll be a link in the description. You can follow me. I'll send you an email notification or text or whatever to let you know when I get online. And I also will do an Xbox lobby as well, but for the most part, it's going to be PlayStation. So keep that in mind, and don't forget to hit the follow button. So today's video is a little bit of an update, but I also want to talk about something that I talked about on my trip. We went to Florida, and what I want to talk to you about is the fear of flying. And the reason I bring this up is everyone's got their own take on it. I have mine. So let's start from the beginning. I've flown all over the place. I've flown to Europe. I've flown to several island destinations. But I got to tell you, it does bother me just a little bit. The whole letting go and not being in control. And so on our flight out to Florida, it wasn't a bad flight. This was last weekend. It'll be over a week from now when you're watching this. But it was on a Friday. We flew out. And we get on the plane, and everything's great, and we take off. I enjoy the takeoff more than the landing. So we take off, and we get about an hour out from Florida. And the captain comes on and just says, hey, we're picking up a lot of chatter from the planes ahead of us. We're going to be hitting some turbulence. We'll do our best. I'm like, big deal. Doesn't bother me. Which it didn't. So we get there, 10 minutes later, all of a sudden, it starts bumping and the wings start flapping a little bit. We had a window seat right over the wing, and it was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. We go to land, and right before we land or make our descent, he comes on, the captain does, and this was poor choice of words. He said, well, we've run out of options. I looked at my wife, I'm like, I don't know if you really want to say that. He said, we ran out of options. We're going to go ahead and start our descent. Which what he meant was we ran out of options. The weather is such that we're not going to avoid any of these turbulence, so we're just going to go ahead and head down and get it on the ground, which is fine. That was the plan all along anyway. But his choice of words. So anyway, we're right before the landing gear kick out. We're talking to this elderly lady. She looks to be about 70, and you could tell she was not comfortable the whole time with these turbulence and such. The landing gear kick out, and that creates such a drag on the plane. It made this huge noise. I mean, the whole plane went. I think we're going like 400 miles an hour, and I bet we lost 50 miles an hour in airspeed or something. It was, which is fine. I'm used to it. And we were right underneath above the landing gear. She freaked out. I think she was going to have to check her depends because she was noticeably disturbed. So. Anyway, that's kind of what happened. The flight back was fine. It doesn't really bother me. So we're talking to our neighbors, and their kids have never flown. My kids have flown probably 10 to 12 times each to different places. We go to Connecticut, we go to Mexico, we go to all these different places. So they're fine. But our neighbor was saying, Riley, which is her daughter, she's told me she will not even get on a plane. So don't even book a trip. Basically, because she won't get on a plane. And I thought, man, that's just that's too bad. I mean, we live in Kansas, and to get to the coast, you got to drive 2.5 days. Or if you go to Texas, probably not as far. But you have to drive quite a ways just to get to the East Coast and the West Coast. So, it's a 3-hour flight both ways to get to the coast, and that's doable. That does not bother me. But I got to thinking, man, that just really cramps your vacations on what you can do if your daughter won't even fly, or you can go, but you wouldn't take her. And so my wife said, well, we threw the kids on a plane when they were less than a year old, and now they actually fight over the window seat. So you guys let me know. What do you guys think about flying? For me, it's just giving up this control for a few hours. That's proven that flying is safer than driving a car. There are more accidents and more fatalities, obviously, in cars, but there's more occurrences of driving. But they just say, it's safer than driving a car, which I agree. But at the same time, I'll tell you a quick story. This is probably the scariest story I've ever had on a plane. But But you kind of got to let go and trust that the pilot knows what he's doing and his co-pilot knows what he's doing, and that the weather, they'll avoid any bad weather, and they check the plane out and all that. But so here's the story. This was my flight out to Spain, and all you guys who are longtime subscribers know I had a girlfriend for almost 5 years that lived in Spain. So I went out to Spain. So this was my first flight out to Spain, and I flew from Kansas City to New York, and then New York to Madrid. And the Madrid flight, if I remember right, was about a 6-hour flight, maybe 6.5-hour flight from New York. So it was like overnight. And actually, back then I smoked, which was horrible. Don't smoke, please don't. And I was back in the smoking section of the plane. That's when you could smoke on a plane. That's how long ago that is. How crazy is that? So we're in the back, and you had like two groups of people. You had the people that like to hang out and party, and they were drinking and smoking, and the other half of the people were basically asleep. And me, I can't really sleep really well on a plane. I was pretty excited to get to Madrid and see my girlfriend and all that, so I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't drinking either. I didn't drink back then. So the fasten seatbelt sign is off. I mean, it's been a smooth flight the entire time. I'm sitting there. I have my Discman, which was an old CD player, sitting on my lap, and I was reading a magazine or a book. And I kid you not, no belt on. Within a matter of a half a second, we hit. I think it's called dead air. There was basically the plane dropped. It had to drop like 500 feet. I don't even know. It dropped. I flew up. I hit my head up on top of the cabin above me. People went flying, drinks went flying, everything, and then it was over within like 2 seconds. But all of a sudden, I mean, I just flew out of my seat, hit the top of the cabin, and then we leveled out, and it was fine. But he just came on and said, if I remember, I was like a dead pocket, where basically we flew into something where there was no air, and we just boom dropped down. So that was scary. So these little turbulence that you hit here and there, that doesn't really bother me. That in fact bothered me. So guys, let me know if you have any flying stories, if you're afraid of flying, if you've never flown. But anyway, guys, take care as always. Don't forget to check out the live stream. This is Stone Post 34.